know about you, but sometimes something seemingly small will happen that launches me into really kind of thinking deeply about life. So I was taking a yoga class, and the instructor gave us an instruction to move our leg clockwise, and she said, I think clockwise, right. I don't really get the clockwise, counterclockwise thing. And so some of the students who were mostly my age or thereabouts laughed, and I realized she probably did not grow up with that kind of clock that has a clock face. She probably grew up with digital clocks. So to her, when she thinks about 10-10, she sees the number 10:10. And when I think 10-10 in my mind, I picture a clock face with the hands on going in the direction they are. And so she's 20-something, and I thought about how that might affect other things in life if you didn't really have a concept of a clock face. So I was talking to a friend of mine who was in the Navy, and he said, yeah, when we were on the ship, if there was some kind of obstruction, they would say it's at 3 o'clock. And I wonder what it's like for young people. They would have to translate in their mind instead of immediately responding. And then I was talking to my chiropractor, who is or used to be a pilot, and he said, yeah, when we were flying planes, the control tower would say, you know, there's a plane approaching at 10 o'clock. And he actually has a young friend who is completing flight school, and she's having to learn how to visualize the clock face to be able to understand the directions. And then I thought about, in the last couple of years of my husband's life, he became blind, and he went through training for how to manage in the world when you can't see. And so one of the instructions that he taught me, that he was taught, is if we went out to eat in a restaurant, so that he could tell what was on his plate, I would say, okay, the peas are at 2 o'clock, the mashed potatoes are at 3 o'clock, and the fish is right in the center, so that he could visualize the plate and where on the plate the things were. So, I mean, I don't know how many other things affect people's lives in small or big ways, but I thought about other things that, you know, sometimes we take for granted, that how we were raised or the things that we grew up with and how that affects our life, but that's true for everyone, which it's not. So I was raised to, if I was served food, to take a small amount of everything to taste it and eat what was on my plate, and especially if I was eating at someone else's house, to take a small amount and finish everything, because that was polite, and it would show the host, even if I didn't like what was on the plate, that they wouldn't know that because I'd eat it. But in some cultures, that is considered impolite. That if you eat everything on your plate, it means that your host didn't serve you enough food. And so it's polite to leave a little bit of food on your plate. So in order for us to understand each other and get along, I think it's important that we learn to ask questions like, where did you learn to eat all the food in your plate? Or how did you learn to tell time? You know, not why did you do that? Why did you leave some food on your plate? But what's your perspective? How do you look at these things? And to me, that's part of what makes life enjoyable. It's part of what makes our relationships enjoyable. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think if the only people I know think like I do, believe like I do, look at the world the way I do, that would be very boring.